The views and opinions expressed in this video are solely those of the Fat Bearded Vinyl Guy and should not be taken seriously by sane people.
Hello, fellow vinyl addicts. Welcome back to the Vinyl Lair. I am Matt, the Fat Bearded Vinyl Guy, and I am back. I wanted to get back into the routine of making videos on a semi-regular basis, so here I am. I made my last video in June, yes, June of 2021. I went back to doing a blog for a little bit because apparently I thought that was the future. But now I'm back on the tube. So now that I've returned from my self-imposed exile, now what? Well, what else but a world's worst record review? I toyed with the idea of adjusting the format, but since I can't really come up with an original idea, I'd just be copying my man Aaron at the Ridiculous Rock Record Review podcast. Link is in the description. That being said, when I started working on this episode, I started taking notes on each track. So I decided to do a track-by-track rundown instead of my usual general broad strokes. But don't get used to it because it probably won't happen too many times. So the first World's Worst Record review of what I'm calling Season 2 is a record I listened to a lot in my high school days. It's the 1992 solo album from Queen guitarist Dr. Brian May. In 1991, Freddie Mercury had died, and I had videotaped the tribute concert and gone all in on Queen. By September of '92, Brian May was at the top of my favorite guitarist list. Of course, the list wasn't very long, seeing that I didn't know many guitarists. It was pretty much Brian May, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Eddie Van Halen. It's a good list, but very incomplete compared to 45-year-old me. I remember going to the exclusive company in Appleton, Wisconsin on release day and picking up the CD. Turns out almost 30 years later I'd pick up the album again at that same exclusive company, this time on vinyl. I have one other copy of this album. This is a Venezuelan pressing. I got this when shipping from foreign countries didn't cost as much. On the charts, naturally it did better in Europe than here in the States, where it went gold in the UK and was a top 20 album in 5 different European countries, including number 6 in the UK. Here it managed a meager 159 on the Billboard 200. But enough exposition, let's get down to the music. As I said before, I'm going track by track, so let's dig in. The Dark is simply a 2-minute intro for the album. There's some ethereal sounds going on, and it almost sounds like he's singing a lullaby in there a bit. We get some textbook Brian May guitar orchestrations, and then some synth strings and harp that sounds like it could be from an episode of Nova. The title track comes off as kind of a hopeful song to me. It gives the impression of coming to the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm not sure if any of us can relate to that in 2022. There's some great vocal harmonies and a Brian May 101 guitar solo that's essentially a variation on the verse melody, but very good. Love Token is a rocker with a huge sound. This cut has a feel similar to Headlong from the Innuendo album from Queen that came out the year before. Holy Cozy Powell, I feel you on this track, man. Cozy brings the thunder on the drums on Resurrection with a banging drum part and killer drum feature in the breakdown section. And then Brian melts your face with an Eddie Van Halen style tapping guitar solo. This is easily my favorite song on the entire record. The ballad Too Much Love Will Kill You was originally recorded for the 1989 Queen album The Miracle, but the ever-popular legal wrangling kept that version from being released until the Made in Heaven album in 1995. The version on this album is ironically my least favorite, although I've known it the longest. The Queen version sounded strange to me at first, but now I prefer that version because, let's face it, nobody can compete with Freddie Mercury's vocals. And then I've heard a live version from Brian May and his band, and that version is excellent. I'm gonna have to apologize for what I'm going to say about Driven by You. I love Brian May, but this song is dumb. Despite the lyrics on the album version, this song was used in an ad campaign for the Ford Motor Company in the UK. Now, I've heard that Ford version with the Ford lyrics, and it is pure corporate cheese. The lyrics are cheesier than a 2-ton block of Velveeta, and it smells worse than if it was left out in the sun for a week. It's like he wrote a corporate jingle, but didn't want to make it sound like he wrote a corporate jingle. Sorry, but changing 3 or 4 words does not turn an ad jingle into a love song. At least not a good one. Queen bassist John Deacon played bass on the ballad Nothing But Blue, and that's the only Queen connection on Back to the Light. It's very light and airy, and there's some good orchestrated guitar parts, but that's about it. It's filler. I'm Scared is more up-tempo coming out of the ballad, but it doesn't grab me. It's more filler. The verses where sing talking over a drum beat, it kind of sounds familiar, but I just can't place where I've heard something like that before. Let me think. I don't know, I got nothing. The instrumental Last Horizon is one of the most beautiful guitar solos I know of. Now, I got to see Queen live with Paul Rodgers in 2006, and this was the only song from this album that they played. Listening to it gives me goosebumps, and it is proof that you don't have to play a million notes to have it sound good. In my opinion, Let Your Heart Rule Your Head is the most Queen-sounding song on the album. It's in the vein of 39 from the Night at the Opera album. I can close my eyes and I even envision the band playing this. And if you can't, just look at the gatefold of A Day at the Races. Initially, this was my favorite song on the album, and it's still one that I like a lot. Just One Life was written about the actor Philip Sayre. As the lyrics suggest, the two never met, but seeing that both of them were in the public eye, they most certainly knew who each other was. This song sounds like a late 80s synth ballad, but seeing that it was written in 1989 and most likely recorded not long after, it kind of makes sense. A cover of the Small Faces song Rollin' Over closes out the album. The song starts with a great piano intro and rocks harder than the original. It's essentially an updated version of a late 60s blues rock tune, fleshed out with more Brian May flourishes and extended solo section, and it doubles the original 2-minute runtime. It's a solid ender that unfortunately it fades out a bit and goes into the ethereal sound similar to The Dark at the beginning. Bookends the album a bit, but personally I don't like that. Come on, end on a high note. But what do I know? I'm just one of hundreds of overweight bearded white guys in the basement talking about his record collection. Being a Brian May solo album and not a Queen collaboration, although John Deacon did play on one song, Dr. May was able to express his rock sensibilities to 11. Resurrection as well as Love Token rock as hard as some of his best Queen rockers. In the end, Back to the Light scratched my desire for something new from the Queen stable. And I'm not sure why, because by the time I got this album in September of '92, I hadn't heard all of Queen's stuff yet. It was pretty much the best ofs that were out at the time. There was Innuendo, which was their latest one at the time, and Live at Wembley. But whatever. You can't be old and dumb without first being young and dumb. And that's it for now. FatBeardedVinylGuy.com is still the website with all the goodies, links to Facebook, the Reimagined blog, and that's about it. It's a slightly better looking version of Linktree. Like, share, subscribe. As for new content, I'm at least going to try to make an effort, and wow, that did not sound non-committal at all. So until next time, stay gold, and I will catch you on the B-side.